All right, this is in reference to Billy's Talking Points memo from July 14th. So, Bill, I don't agree with basically anything that you had to say. I'd like to start off by asking, where did those numbers come from, where you indicated that 8,000 plus children were sent back across the border in 2008, and only 1,000 plus were sent back in 2013. I'd like to point out that you know and I know that the Obama administration has sent back many, many more people back to Central and South America, Mexico also, in the Obama administration. In fact, in the fifth year of the Obama administration, they had sent back more people than had been sent back in the entire amount of the Bush administration. So I'd like to know where those numbers came from. So you're trying to say that these kids are coming strictly because we're not deporting dreamers, which I haven't seen any indication that that has been the case at all. What we have here, again, is a humanitarian refugee crisis where we need to take these kids in, process them, and send them back. The Obama administration has indicated that that is what they're going to do. And, you know, in a couple months' time, you'll have some other contrived grievance against the Obama administration, and this thing will have faded away. But in the meantime, from yesterday's Talking Points memo, I am a liberal. I believe in liberty. And when you talk about every liberal wants nothing more than to take in all of these refugees, again, that's not even remotely close to being true. There are laws on the books. The laws are going to be enforced. I respect those laws. The one that's being enforced right now was initiated by the Bush administration. The Obama administration is following through on it. It does take time. Processes take time. The other thing is really contorting the view that the only reason liberals want these people to come to these children to come to the United States is so that they can get on the dole and so that they can vote for Democrats. You know, that's really so much stretching the concept of logic of what we liberals think. You know, and I realize you're just gearing it for your older than 72 crowd of white people. But I can't even grasp how they may even see that that's the way that this thing is going. And just to get into the point, I think you've mentioned this before, is to bring in the National Guard. And I understand that it's very, very important for you and the people who you are trying to convince about this, that an overwhelming show of force is all that is needed to break this impasse. Didn't work in Iraq, didn't work in Afghanistan, and it's not going to work here. I know you have something on your webpage. Haven't looked at it fully, but I don't necessarily see where these National Guards are going to come from, what type of equipment they're going to have, where they're going to be stationed, who's going to be overseeing them, what type of processes they're going to have to take, how long do you anticipate them to be there, who's going to pay for all of this, what about the jobs that they're going to be taken away from when they go down to the border for 6 months, a year, whatever time that you decide they need to be taken care of. All of those things need to be processed ahead of time. But I know it's very easy just to say on television that this is how it should be done. You know, at the same time, but the Obama administration is working with the governments, all those governments that are this is involved in. They're working with humanitarian agencies. They're working with the Catholic Church, with all these things behind the scenes. How can these kids be taken care of? Where can they be? How can we get in touch with their loved ones? What type of how are we going to process them efficiently and effectively so that the ones that need to go home will go home? Again, the reason why the law was instituted in 2008 was to protect kids from sexual predators and being brought over the United States for means of being in the sex trade. I'm sorry. And I'm trying to think, I almost forgot, probably did forget about the last point that I wanted to make on all of this. But this is a humanitarian crisis. It is going to be taken care of. I do not understand why the Republicans in Congress... Oh, now I know what the last point was. Oh, God, I forgot about it again. Oh, well, that's the way it goes. But the Republicans in Congress are really not trying to solve the border issue, and that was the point that I wanted to make up. You know, when you say that the border has to be secure, what that's really telling me is you don't want this situation to be resolved. You want it to go on in infinity because you want to use it as a wedge issue with the American public. And this needs to be resolved. Everyone agrees that it needs to be resolved. It should be resolved sooner rather than later. And it's not going to be resolved strictly by saying the border has to be enforced. The border has to be secure, because that's just basically saying you don't want to resolve the issue. You want, because you will always extend the goalposts. Once the border becomes more secure and more secure and more secure, you will just keep extending the goalposts. Because you really don't want a solution with this. You want something, you don't want it to work. You want us to be in a perpetual state of, let's just say, not war, but perpetual state where we have a border, we have a crisis, and it can never be resolved because the borders can never be secure. Immigration, comprehensive immigration reform will work. It will take time, but we have to get started on it now. That's enough for today.